All right. Former light heavyweight UFC champion and 2013 Hall of Famer UFC athlete Forrest Griffin. What's up, Forrest? What's happening?
What's happening, man? Thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on, and it should be really fun, man. I've told a bunch of people you're coming on, and they can't believe it.
All right. Well, let's. Should I leave then? We'll prove them right.
No, wait, no, not yet. I got to get my money's worth.
Exactly right.
So this is your first time on, so I want to start from the beginning. You were an athlete when you were in high school, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, man. Yeah. I mean, that was my identity growing up. I was moderately big and durable, so I did sports.
Okay. What kind of sports did you play?
Man, I played everything, right? Football, soccer, or football proper, basketball, baseball, track.
And then
pretty mediocre at all of them.
Yeah, until apparently, if I have my information correct, until you went to the hardcore gym.
That's correct. The hardcore gym, Athens, Georgia. Shout out. Now Athens First Fitness, Roy and Adam Singer, the OGs.
That's right, Rory Singer. And I guess you found your talent there.
Yeah. I was very fortunate. I got in the sport early enough to where, you didn't have to be an amazing athlete or have started training when you were 12 to compete at, when I did. Mm-hmm. Basically, everybody today could beat me up.
I don't know about that, man.
And it's more skilled, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That the sport has progressed tremendously like that. In 5 or 10 years, it changes dramatically. It's unbelievable. You have new great talent coming in all the time.
Well, you think about the sport, it developed in the era of YouTube or social media. So, the stuff that we probably paid, $60 to go to a private seminar and learn some stuff in some guy's garage. That doesn't really, that seminar model or that keeping secrets model doesn't work so well with MMA because there's so many fights and so many competitions, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and people are always taking stuff from each one of them. And so now it's like, don't try to hide it. Try to be the first one to use it on a major platform in a major fight, right?
Okay. Well, the one thing that I noticed that was really interesting was one of your first fights was against Dan Severn.
Yeah.
And can you explain that? How did that happen?
It was pretty typical that Dan would fight whoever the tough guy from the town was, and there was a fight in Augusta, Georgia, and I was the tough guy, so it made sense, and he beat me up.
Did he really?
Yeah, he beat me up.
I actually had the privilege of meeting him. I met him in Florida at another podcast. And he was a gentleman, absolute gentleman.
He's such a nice guy. A nice guy.
Really.
He'll beat you up still, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm sure he's deadly still at this point. But never. I mean, he's a legend.
Gone. He actually. Oh, there it was. Excuse me.
Bless you.
He actually takes really good care of himself too. He's in great shape. I just saw him out here for the big UFC Fan Expo, and he looks great. He moves well for a guy his age. He takes care of himself.
So you were a police officer for a little bit of time.
I was not a very good one. Not because I was dirty or corrupt. I was just not great at it. Yeah.
What do you mean not great at it? Were you not passionate?
I enjoyed it. What's that?
Were you not passionate about it, or what?
No, I was. I just didn't. There was a lot of police work, and at the time it was handwritten, and I have atrocious handwriting and spelling, and it was like, that. Yeah, it was very, it detracted a lot from actually talking to people and doing stuff I was better at.
Okay, so now while you're a police officer, you're studying MMA.
Yeah.
And how did you wind up getting into The Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. I had it's a kind of a long story, but
go right ahead.
Yeah, so I found MMA. I was a cop at the time, and I had a fight opportunity. And to take the fight, I basically left my job. So I left my job, no worries. I'm going to be a big time fighter. Well, I dislocated my shoulder pretty badly in that first post fight, like my post law enforcement career fight.
Really?
And it required surgery. So I got the free college surgery, which was worth almost as much as I paid for it. And, so I was, kind of fighting, and I was, what it was every fighter at that time ended up doing. Of course, I'm bouncing, I end up working in like various clubs and whatnot, and doing security work, which I could get decent gigs. Sometimes I would do construction, and then mostly I was just training though, teaching beginner classes, help pay my gym dues. And, I had another big opportunity to make some decent money at the time. And I shattered my two metacarpals. And then I was like, oh man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So, I ended up living on Adam's old mattress on Rory's living room for a while. And I had no car, nothing. And then there were like, at one point, there were 5 of us in a 3-bedroom apartment, and we got an apartment where the people before us had been evicted. So like all their stuff was still in it, and they'd like let their kids draw on the walls, and everything was broken. And it's funny, they did leave us the Pirates of the Caribbean DVD score. And that was like one of 3 movies we had. So we just kept watching the same movies again and again, which was hilarious. But so the typical, I started I slept in the dining room. And then as people kind of came and went, I ended up with one of the bedrooms because I was, big town, right? And then, I got a call from Joe Silva, matchmaker of the UFC at the time. And he said, hey, yeah, we can use you in February. And he gave me some of the least motivational advice I ever heard. I had a fight schedule because obviously I need the money and I want to fight. But he said, yeah, just don't lose. I was like, wow, that's really inspiring words there, Joe. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Don't lose. All right, great advice. So I didn't lose, but I did end up breaking my arm in that fight. I still won the fight, but I broke my arm.
Yeah.
So, I had no car, no money, no nothing.
But not only did you win that fight, you knocked him out. You knocked the opponent out.
Knocked him out with my other hand.
That's
the first one in South Africa is actually better because he slammed me. My shoulder came out, and I would have quit, except there were kicks to the head on the ground. So he started kicking me. So I had to get up and fight. And, he ended up missing a takedown. I ended up on his back, and I ended up choking him out with my dead arm. And I couldn't really use it. So I just pulled it against his throat as hard as I could with my other hand and took my forehead and jammed it on the back of his head. And I just kind of crank choked him,
Wow. And who was the opponent?
Thank goodness. A cat named Vion Lesh. She was straight wrestler.
Okay.
No striking, and I had no wrestling. So it was a great match.
That's amazing. All right. So go right ahead.
Yeah, no. So then I was trying to get jobs this whole time, like in law enforcement. So finally I got one. And, it was cool. I ended up cutting my cast off so I could do the physical. I kept failing polygraphs and psychologicals. I passed polygraph, failed the psychological, passed one part, failed, And, you go into job interviews with your arm in a cast. It's already a little weird. How'd you break your arm? Oh, I was in a fight. I was like, what? That was this 2004. So I was in a fight. Wasn't like a reasonable response at that time.
Right.
I was fighting people for money.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It was real. It wasn't illegal. But I kind of gave up, and I moved back home. I got a job, and I lived with my parents for a little while, and then I found a friend, and I lived with him, and then I started looking at trying to go back to school for something like Master's of Public Administration, something law enforcement related. And I was just trying to grind out and get 2 or 3 years with this department and really learn my stuff. And then, I was going to take a fight in Atlanta. I forget the guy's name, but for like $300. And it was just for fun, at heavyweight. And I thought that'd be fun, And I didn't know how it worked with work. So I'd start training again, but my best jiu-jitsu partner was about 170. So I'd roll with these guys in a gi. I'm 230 though, 235. My best training partners are better than me, but they're all like 170.
Right.
And, I would go to the boxing gym. And so I was just doing like boxing a couple days a week, and then jujitsu a couple days a week, and then lifting a couple days a week. So I was actually training quite a bit, but like, all over the place according, because you work 3 on, 4 off, whatever. And, I got a call and they were doing the Ultimate Fighter. I didn't apply for it. I didn't know what it was. Somebody failed a drug test. So they were like, hey, can you pass a drug test? And I was like, yeah. What do you got? Sure. And they were like, all right, we need you to come on out to, whatever. And it was, I had like, I don't know, 14, 15 days notice. And the thing is, I'd only been working at that department for 11 months and 8 days. So if I quit, I was not eligible for rehire because you had to work there for a year to be eligible for rehire.
Okay.
So I get to the airport and I'm like, oh shit, what have I done again? Last time I tried to be an MMA fighter, I ended up homeless with no car, no money.
Yeah, right.
So I'm at the airport and I call my boss and I say, hey man, is there any way you can pull my resignation? I can be back at work tomorrow.
Really?
And he was like, yeah. And I said, all right, well, I'll call you back. Let me, so I called the producer of the show, a guy named Ahmet. And, basically I was like, I don't know. And he was like, I'd never seen a reality show other than The Real World. I'd seen like The Real World. And I said, well, yeah, it's just like that, but with fighters. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound too good. But I did know that Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture were the coaches. And I was like, I've been to some Randy seminars. I knew him through the Straight Blast Gym. I'd worked out with him before. And, he was a legend. Chuck Liddell's a legend. So it's like getting coached by either one of those guys is a win, right? It's a life-changing experience. And then, the producer got me on the phone with Dana White. And this is 2004 or 5, maybe, I don't know. But cell phone reception wasn't what it is now. I could not hear a word. I could hear like every 5th word. I'm like running around trying to get a signal. Like I'm talking to Dana White, first time in my life, and I can't even hear him. He can't hear me. I sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You don't know if he can hear you. Maybe he's hearing everything I'm saying. I can't hear him.
Right.
And the gist of it was I'd rather regret the mistakes I make than the mistakes I don't make. I flew out and ended up winning the show. But yeah, that was how I came about the Ultimate Fighter, last minute replacement.
That's amazing. So last minute replacement and you won. So yeah. What about the experience during the reality show?
It kind of sucked, right? Like
really?
Yeah, there's no TV. No, I can say it's one of the few times in my life that I wasn't injured that I ever didn't love fighting, because you're just surrounded by it. You're surrounded by people you're going to fight. There's no respite, like with a book or a movie or a conversation with somebody that has nothing to do with fighting or, even like something educational, I was like envious that Diego Sanchez had yoga cards and I was like, steal those and read them.
Did you get along with the guys? Did the guys get along, or was it?
So I did a pretty good job of staying pretty silent for about 2 weeks. If you notice, if you watch the show, there's not a lot of me doing anything the first couple of weeks of the show. I kind of wanted to catch my bearings and see what was what and who was who. And, I got a sense of that. And then I kind of I found my crew, I found my stride, and I started being, me. And, I think everybody for the most part got along with me. Obviously Sam, Koscheck, and, I got along with Bobby. We kind of got along. We had a little crew. And, I ended up living with Alex Karalexis later. So everybody, even the guys that fought, we got along pretty well.
Oh, that's good. It was like any other reality show where the producers try to spark drama.
So, what they do, so they do that in every reality show. They do try to spark drama. They do create drama, but they do it just by making you hear all the time. There's no there's no release from each other. You're always in a situation, you're in a competitive situation for money and to follow your dreams. So they didn't need to spark that much drama, is what I'm saying,
it was just testosterone.
Just 60 days of being with the same people day in, day out. You start to get a little crazy.
When did you finally realize, or when did the rest of the crew realize, okay, Griffin's got a shot here?
I don't know. I mean, I think people thought I was pretty decent at the evaluation.
Mhm.
But, I was kind of a bit of a wild card, so people didn't really know what to make of me.
Right. Now, were you on Randy Couture's
I was on
side?
Chuck Liddell's team, yeah.
Chuck Liddell's team. Okay. And then
Good story about that. So
Good.
Stefan was getting the better of me sparring, kickboxing sparring. And I stepped off the mat, because there's not really like a wall or anything. I stepped off the mat and he popped me pretty good, like when I was off the mat. So I was like, all right, you fucker. So I charged him and, tried to knee him, and we clashed heads. And so he got cut. And Randy was monitoring that sparring, and he didn't like the way I was as a training partner. It was basically, if I started getting down, I just got a little dirty.
Mhm.
And so Chuck knew that he wouldn't pick me right away. So he saved me for a later pick, which I liked being one of the last picks because it took the pressure off me.
Okay. All right.
Also, in the beginning, we didn't think anybody was fighting until we thought the best four, so the best two from each weight class, would fight at the end, so in 60 days. So we thought we had more time to prepare than we did. And a lot of us were pretty heavy. And, I hadn't made weight. I'd fought my last fight had been heavyweight, so I hadn't made 205 in a long time. And, let's see. That was that was the gist of it.
So that leads to the final at Spike TV with you and Bonner, which goes down as like the number one fight that ever happened in UFC history, basically.
Yeah, it was the right fight at the right time. The deal is, the show had been a moderate success. It was still like on the board as to whether to do another season. And so after that fight, during the main event, they actually went out in the parking lot and signed a deal on a napkin to do season 2 of the
Really? Wow.
So the UFC, actually, you'll hear $34 and $44 million that they were down in the hole. So they were down in the hole $34 million, and then they went all in to get that on Spike TV. So they paid $10 million to put the show on TV, between putting the show on TV and then the production cost and everything. So there was a time and I didn't really know what this meant, but I knew it was bad, where some of the crew was saying this will never see the light of day. This will never even get a release. We're spinning our wheels here, and we're so wait, no, we has to get out there. So
you're in this fight with Bonner, and it seemed like you're pretty evenly matched, like on every aspect.
Yeah.
Even your strengths. When I went back, I watched the fight last night, went back and watched a couple of the fights. And it even seemed like your chin, your stamina, and the will to win was evenly matched between the two of you guys.
Yeah.
So when you were fighting him, what were you thinking? Was there a part of you like, what do I got to do to beat this guy?
No, it's funny. I actually felt really good about the first round. I was like, all right, I won the first round.
Okay.
And then I made a huge mistake. I went all in for that arm bar at the end of the round, as you do, because you got like 12 seconds left. Why not go for it? And I guess I just wasn't breathing. I totally gassed myself. And then I compounded that mistake, because you think you got a minute to rest, I'll be fine. I compounded that mistake with laying on the floor for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So I finally get up, I sit down on the stool, and it's like literally seconds out. And I'm like, no. But I just got here. I get 60 seconds. What are you guys talking about?
Right.
Just started. And so the beginning of that second round, he just started tooling me up, and I was just exhausted. And fortunately, I ran into a jab and it popped my nose. And I did get the takedown, and I was bleeding on him, so it was pretty good. Not anywhere near as good as Rockhold did to Paulo Costa, but I was bleeding on him, so it was pretty good. And they stopped the fight to look at my nose. And they cheated for me. So now if they stop a fight to check you, if you're blah, 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 they are not allowed to wipe the blood out of your face and eyes. Well,
Really?
They wiped the blood out of my face so they could actually see how badly my nose was broken.
Right.
And that gave me enough time to kind of rest and get my composure because I was really shot. Like I was just shot. Yeah. So that was just a blessing for me. Yeah.
Why is that? Can I not remove the blood?
Well, because it's something your opponent did to you that affects the way you fight, right? So it's a factor that, between rounds is one thing, but they can't stop it to remove the blood or to stop a cut or anything. So fortunately, to examine it, there was so much blood they had to wipe it out of the way just to see what was going on.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
So you go on to win that fight by unanimous decision. And tell me how your life changed from that moment, because it had to be.
Yeah, it was amazing. That's probably one of the highest highs of my life ever, and that's just no hyperbole there. It was amazing. And I knew at that moment that I was a professional fighter. I wasn't a bouncer. I wasn't a cop. I wasn't a college student. My new job was a professional fighter. And that came with its own stress. Well, now I don't have any excuses. Before, I'd always, I'd had this or I had that, or I was never just a fighter. I'd always had some sort of job to support myself and try to go to school and whatever. So that was the first time I was like, all right, you threw all your chips in on this one. So you got no choice but to make it work.
What about the celebrity status? Was there things like you had to stay away from now? Were there ladies partying, drinking?
I partied a little bit, not too much. One of the fortunate things for me is I met this girl that I liked early, and she later became my wife. And that actually probably helped me out quite a lot because, honestly, if you're a goofy dude that can't dance, do you really want to go out to a club?
No.
At 2 a.m? What's the point? If you got sand at home, you don't really need to go to the beach.
No.
That's always kind of been my thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. Marriage keeps you well grounded.
It did for me anyway. Some people still like to go out and do their thing. It wasn't huge on it, and yeah. So
you have this great career. So you go through these fights, and you fought.
I had a career. Yeah,
I
had a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. People always say I've gotten lucky, and I really have, but I've had a fair amount of bad luck too. Bad injuries, bad getting knocked out a week before a fight. Just crazy stuff that shouldn't happen.
So you set a record for the most leg kicks landed, and I think it was when you fought Ramirez. Is that accurate?
Yeah. It's been since broken, and I was third in total significant strikes landed at 205 until just recently. So
really,
yeah.
So now they contact you and they want you to be a trainer at Ultimate Fighter 7.
Yeah, that was awesome, actually. Yeah,
and that obviously led you to win the light heavyweight title, but
that got me the title shot, and that was a great experience. I made some lifelong friends. I learned a lot about myself as a coach, and I did a really good job of not being selfish and really, it's not even selfishness. You want to be selfish as an MMA fighter, but because I had so much time between my fight and they did not, that I really wanted to help those guys and take care of them. And I had this vested interest in them. Even some of the guys that weren't on my team, I wanted them to do really well, So, yeah.
So was that the same thing, 60 days? And
no.
Good.
Yeah, it was close. It wasn't bad for me though, because I was, training 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, or whatever, and then going home and seeing my wife and eating food, and I was pretty far out from the fight. And, so for me, I was coming back from a shoulder surgery too, so it was perfect timing.
Yeah, so tell me about that shoulder surgery. Did it happen during a fight?
No, my shoulder originally happened during that first fight, and then I had surgery on it, and then just basically a lot of Greco. I did a lot of Greco wrestling, so you get whipped on, you get snatched, you get dragged, you get overhooked and wizard on, and I was never really I was always a bad freestyle wrestler, but I found out that I could clinch and knee bump and get in there and grind with very good wrestlers. And I was, I credit Randy a lot with having us use the fence. So we were like, to us, fence wrestling was part of wrestling. And I actually found that I could really beat high-level wrestlers if I could get them clinched up on the fence. It was a secret weapon back then. Now it's part of it, right?
Part of the game. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, you just do that enough times, and if you kind of leave it in there and you're not real good and you're getting whipped on and cranked on and you fight through it enough times, you just tear it out. And that's kind of what I did. And before I fought Shogun, I think it came out like about 20 or so times it fell out.
Oh, wow. That's unbelievable. That's a rough way to make a living, man.
And I'll tell you, I did not know at that time I could get it back in usually, and then I became the de facto expert. But I didn't know at that time that you can cut off the blood and or nerve, and that you need to check the pulse of that arm to make sure you didn't, basically squeeze an artery or whatever, right?
That is definitely a rough way to make a living. It's got to be. You have to be in love with fighting.
Yeah.
So in Ultimate Fighter 7, you have you and Rampage Jackson. Yeah, he kind of always had this reputation of being like, happy-go-lucky kind of dude. I don't see him much as a trainer, but how did that work out?
Well, for Quentin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it worked out better for me. No.
Okay. No, go right ahead, please.
So, the thing was really, it was in Las Vegas. So I was able to bring in so many coaches, and he only got 3 coaches they paid to come in and do the show, and he brought good coaches in, and he had some good people come through. But for me, it was like I could just bring these guys my training camp, I just bring my people over, and I actually paid some of them out of my own pocket because I was just doing it. They were going to run my practice anyway, so just have them run it with the guys. So they, it was fortunate. The one thing I really did horribly poorly is just periodizing their training, right? I just didn't give them, basically I'd go as hard as you possibly could until 5 days out, and then you got 5 days to recover.
Okay.
So you just kill yourself till 5 days before the fight and then recover.
All right.
It wasn't even 7 days. It was like you get 5 days to recover. You don't have to do anything for 5 days. You just hit mitts with the guy, you drill, do a couple wrestling drills, we'll make the weight. Yeah.
So then whose team won? I'm assuming your team won.
My team, we won the most fights, and he actually got the first pick. He picked CB Dalloway, and then Amir Sadala ended up beating CB Dalloway in the finals by armbar. Although I should have had both people in the finale, except Jesse Taylor, who could have potentially won the show, got kicked out for a whole host of reasons. On the night they take you out to party, he kicked the windshield out of a limo. He threw a chair into a slot machine. And if you're wondering how Vegas works, when you start messing with their money and their machines, that's when they really get you. If it weren't for the UFC, bad things would have happened to the kid. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind because I'm going there for vacation with the wife.
Well, I don't think you'd be a risk.
No, I don't think. I think I'll be okay. Don't worry about it. So, you fight you fight Rampage. You wind up winning on a unanimous decision, but it seems to be a little bit controversial. Is that accurate?
Not in my mind.
Okay. All right.
Felt pretty natural to me. I felt like I won. It's a 5-round fight. I won 3 rounds easily. So, the second round could have potentially been an 8-10.
So, what was the supposed controversy then? That it was closer than
it was a close fight, but I mean, you score it by rounds. You can clearly say I won 3 of the rounds. So
okay, all right. And so now you're the light heavyweight champion. And how long did you hold on to the title for?
Oh, I didn't. I might as well have just left it at the arena.
Really?
I lost it back in the next fight. Yeah.
Which was
Rashad Evans.
Oh God, I forgot about him. That's right. Yeah. Oh man,
great fight. Yeah, it was a really good fight until it wasn't. And if you want excuses, I got them.
Okay. Is that the fight where you broke your hand?
Well, I did break my hand, but that didn't really affect me at all. I did break my hand. It's funny. I forget that. It didn't affect me. I forgot all about it until I grabbed his wrist with my hand and said, "Ow, what was that?" I forgot. Right. I was like, "What's wrong with that?" But no. I'm a genius. And so I got sick before the fight. So, like a genius, I doubled up my antibiotics. I didn't know that was
Really?
a thing. Yeah. I just thought I get either get better faster. I'll just take more antibiotics. Don't get sick during a weight cut. You know, you really just got to take care of yourself.
Wow. Okay. Was that your only title run?
That was it. Yeah.
Okay. So then you go on and you fight Anderson Silva.
I did. Yeah.
And that one didn't turn out so good.
Well, I lost, if that's what you mean. It turned out pretty good for Anderson Silva.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like?
Anderson, there's a mental trick, and I actually alluded to it talking about Anderson Silva in the first book, the act of effortlessly winning, and you build up this, you know, it was like Tyson in his prime. You didn't just fight Mike Tyson, you fight the aura of Mike Tyson. And so what people did when they fought Anderson is they either kind of didn't think it was beatable and they undertrained, they didn't prepare hard enough, or they did what I did and they overtrained and they kind of ran themselves into the ground thinking that's what they had to do. You know, that's, you know, obviously the fight I regret most, and I would like to, you know, have trained differently for it. You know, again, I trained for like 14 weeks, overtrained. I got myself knocked out 2 weeks to the day before the fight. You know, yeah, but you know, and I was trying to grind through. My body was telling me, "Don't do this today," and I was like, "Nah, I got a hard spar, 3 rounds. I'm scheduled to do it. You don't quit on the hard rounds." And you know, it was actually a guy that fought at 170 that never hurt me before, knocks me clean out. You know, it was the right hand followed by the right leg. You know, bop bop, and I guess they both landed right on my chin, or so he said. And yeah.
When you first get knocked out, does it change things? Do you become more cautious? Are you easily knocked out?
I got knocked out in a pro boxing gym in Atlanta, probably my 4th or 5th boxing session.
Yeah, well, that's
so it's like the 4th time I ever boxed. I got knocked out. And, you know, the problem was I was a 240-pound dude, and I was just hitting people.
Right.
And, you know, that's not true. I actually did I did tough man boxing before that. And
did you really?
Yeah, I just prepared for some friends. And, yeah. And then I went and I did some amateur boxing as I was doing MMA after, you know. But, no, I got knocked out early on. And then for me, the Rashad fight changed things because I'd never been knocked out like that before. It was one of the things, it was like weird. You know, you don't remember the day or the, you know, I don't remember where that fight was or much about it. I remember snippets like, you know, car accident. Like, you remember this, but you don't remember that at all. Right. That song was on, but I have no idea what lane I was in.
Okay. So you're bringing up boxing a lot. Did you follow boxing when you were younger?
So, you know, I actually didn't start following boxing till around 99, 2000, the exact same time I started MMA.
Really?
Started boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, K1. I started watching them all like the same time. Basically, if it was a combat sport, I wanted to do it. And we, at the hardcore gym, we did kind of integrate our training, but because of my schedule, I would be trained with some Muay Thai guys this day, some boxing guys these days, and then grapple on these days. So I was truly, you know, I wasn't mixing my martial arts unless I was doing like an MMA day with the hardcore gym guys, you know, and that was as my work schedule dictated.
Okay. So you go on and you continue fighting. You fight Shogun again. You fight Ortiz 3 times. When was the time where you said to yourself, okay, you know, maybe I think it's time to retire?
So yeah, I never did. I was actually about 20 days out from a fight when I blew my knee out the first time. And then I blew it out again 9 months later playing soccer with some 5-year-olds. Wow. And that was it. And that was really frustration, you know. And I'd already had my right arm was already pretty useless. So I'd been working on footwork and flexibility and kicking more and moving more. And, you know, my jiu-jitsu was okay. My wrestling wasn't as good as it had been because the shoulder, you need a shoulder to drill wrestling more. And then when you got no knee and no shoulder, that's when you know it's done.
Okay. All right. What weaknesses do you wish you could have worked on more?
Yeah. So for me, is a lot, but training smarter, and then training the kind of the in betweens more. For me, it was like getting up off takedowns. It seems like I did that stuff a lot, but yeah, just not to train it enough to where you're going to get out from under somebody without the fear of giving up back control, which I never really did in fights. But a lot of times I stayed down because I either didn't have the energy to make that scramble, or I didn't know if I could do it without like ending in a worse position. So you kind of stay in guard. Like if you're saying he's in guard, why is he staying there? Why is he staying there? Which I'm sure people are saying it's because he or she on the bottom doesn't know how to weigh the energy expenditure that it's going to take versus the technique their opponent is going to have. Do I have enough explosiveness to clear the hips, to get up, to push the head away, or to underhook and sit out? Do I have the energy to do that? And am I going to be able to beat them to the punch, or am I going to come up kind of sloppy and then they're just going to end up on my back and I'm going to end up mounted, or. Anyway, so that was part of it. And then really dumb lifting, almost lifting that'll make you worse, but circuits that make you feel really tough. So, you don't need to, I don't know how much you need to abuse your body with weightlifting. You should probably be abusing your body with actual MMA rounds, even if you're not doing them live. Do them with where you have to get up from a partner and then do a combination on a bag and then repeat it, or So stuff I kind of figured out later, but wish I'd figured out earlier. And then there's that perspective, looking at yourself 5 years in the past. You say, well, these were weaknesses. Who
do you like now? Who are the fighters you enjoy watching now?
There's a host of them. I've always enjoyed watching a Poirier fight. I loved the new breed of 205er. It's a little different. It's almost like a different sport.
Mm-hmm.
That Rockhold's Paulo fight, maybe not the most technically, and they both got exhausted, was one of the most entertaining fights I've seen in my life.
Mm.
Robbie Lawler's still fighting, still a hero of mine. It's been a hero of mine, since 2003 or 4 when he got into the UFC on the, best damn sports show, UFC 37.5, right? Him and Aaron Riley. Aaron Riley was one of my favorite fighters growing up because he was from the regional scene, and then watch him get beat up by Robbie Lawler. This Robbie Lawler guy must be somebody.
And he's still fighting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. How old is he?
1,000. Now, he's probably about 40, but he's like a Vitor, Vitor Belfort, also still fighting, who was in the UFC at 21.
Oh, yeah. It's young. It's very young. Okay. Out of all the fighters you've faced, who was the guy that gave you the most trouble? And let's start there. Who was the guy that gave you the most trouble?
In fights, I don't know. It's hard to say. I tell you, Anderson. Yeah, definitely him. But no, Vanderlei Silva is one of the guys. He came out and sparred with us for a couple of years. That I had the best rounds with, the most entertaining, exciting rounds. It was pretty fun, So he's the guy. Like, it would have been cool to fight him when we were both in our primes.
Right. Was there anybody that you fought that you really did not like?
Man, there are some people I didn't care for, but you get to fight them, so it doesn't really matter, right?
I get to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah. Or vice versa. So you better be motivated. Yeah, it's MMA, man. Everybody ain't supposed to like everybody in life, let alone in fighting.
That's the truth. Ain't that the truth?
But you notice, I never. I had a good strategy. I never talked too much trash to an opponent until like Wednesday, Thursday of that week, till I saw him in person.
Okay. Yeah, you're not much of a trash talker.
Well, I didn't want to motivate people to train hard.
Okay.
So I just acted like, you're so tough. Just me.
Right.
Kind of whatever, until you get right there, and it's too late for them to go back and say, "Oh, this guy's actually going to try and really hurt me."
So at the weigh-in, you would just
Yeah, I'm bringing it now. I guess I
yeah.
hope you're ready because I got ready.
Yeah.
I've been getting ready for you, son.
What do you think about trash talking? Because there's like, I'm not a big fan of trash talking. I like the guys that come in and take care of business.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, that's my preference, but one of the tenets at the UFC is that fans decide, and fans they like to trash talk. So it is what it is, man.
I know that is for sure. So now you're still working for the UFC, and from what I understand, you are the VP of Athletic Development.
Yeah.
And how is that going?
So it's good, man. I work at the Performance Institute, which is, kind of the world leading combat sports, training facility. If you think about every training, like every sport in the world, basketball, football, baseball, they all have a place where they go and they dial into high level scientists, right? Be they physical therapists, sports dietitians, strength and conditioning experts, sports scientists, and so we have all that, and then sports psychology, and then the load management piece, part of sports science, and then the monitoring, and then the recovery facilities, and then nutrition and free supplements, that are third party tested and approved and guaranteed not to make you fail a drug test. So and then we also kind of do some just training skills awareness, like how to best set up your skills practices to get the most out of them. So like a big thing that I've gotten to be around a lot of smart people around and learn from is the best way to acquire skills, right? The skill acquisition process and how your brain learns, and error full practice versus error less practice, serial versus block, and just how you can apply these concepts to learning mixed martial arts, which you need to apply these learning criteria to the sport of MMA, because it's let's say at its best, it's three discrete sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the importance of training and understanding what you're getting the most out of is.
Okay. All
When
right.
you're trying to learn three sports, it's very important.
Do you enjoy watching the ladies fight?
I do, actually. Yeah, I do. God, there was just Weili Zhang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's not as many good women as men, obviously, in the sport, but the women at the top are amazing. Shevchenko trains at the PI a lot,
Mm-hmm.
so I get to see her do her thing and kind of like just kind of follow her career and just kind of see what she does that I can learn from, right?
Okay.
What is she doing so right that other people are doing so wrong? And a lot of it is, hey, just it's these inputs with her genetics, with her mentality, with her injury history, et cetera, right?
Okay. I'm going to ask you a controversial question. I don't think it's very controversial, but some people may.
Okay.
There's always this argument that UFC fighters should make what boxers make. They don't make the money.
No. So, and that's kind of an argument that's definitely near and dear to my heart as far as what's happening. But I think if you really look at the numbers, mm-hmm. you're deluding yourself to an extent, right? Boxers that are those guys make that money, but most boxers make less than UFC fighters, realistically, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think when people start throwing these big numbers around, they forget that the UFC is still trying to grow its business, right? They're still trying to grow internationally. They're still spending money in the development of the sport. The Performance Institute being a good example. They're trying to, accelerate the evolution of mixed martial arts and improve the way people train for the sport and competition of mixed martial arts across the world, not just in the UFC, but they're trying to accelerate the sport. They spend a ton of money getting legalized in France. The first UFC event ever in France is this weekend.
Oh, pretty cool.
New York, they spent all that money and time getting legalized in New York. They've protected their brand IP. They've built an over-the-top platform in UFC Fight Pass. And they are a public company, so I think people get to see the numbers. And I think it's unfortunate for the fighters that have already aged and timed out of the sport, but I think the salaries will start to increase. Now, with that said, it should continue to be a meritocracy, right? If you are on an undercard and how many people are really paying to see you? How many people are buying your t-shirt? How many people are playing you on the video game?
Right.
And unfortunately, that stuff matters. And to an extent, sometimes the best fighters are not the most highly paid because it is an entertainment sport at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you're 100% right. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I think things will improve. I mean, I think it's not going to happen for a couple of years when we're probably heading into a recession.
Right.
Global recession. So they're not going to improve now, right? But
yeah, right.
Hopefully, when we do come out of this recession for the next boom cycle, salaries will improve, and the UFC can improve its brand awareness globally and its distribution and dissemination internationally.
Yeah.
Because my belief is that at some point there's a saturation point or a threshold of the number of people that really want to consume martial arts, right? Like, look, man, my mom's 70. She just don't like fighting. She ain't never gonna. Like, the second I quit fighting, she quit watching. My stepdad too. He's in the 70s. He would watch it and keep up, and he still likes the Diaz brothers. Go figure. I don't know. I can't explain it, but he does.
All right.
But he's kind of like he's not super interested.
Right.
UFC does a good job of capturing the younger demographic, and I think
100%.
Well, not only that, but you're growing up with mixed martial arts being an accepted sports outlet, so that's important in the growth of sport. With that said, hey man, I just was watching a video. I just reposted on Twitter a video of some guy getting this. I couldn't even tell what snapped. Hopefully, it was just his elbow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just snap. That's the sport, man. You don't play MMA, man.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Growing up, I was a huge boxing fan. Me and my father, my brothers were all huge boxing fans. Boxing has really lost its luster in the last 10 years or so. It's really has.
Yeah, I think it's been longer than that. I think it's
yeah. I agree.
Tyson, Lewis, Evander Holyfield. I think there was kind of the heyday.
That was the peak, yeah.
And then, there's been ups and downs, right? Pacquiao, Mayweather, the smaller weight classes, But, I think that's just boxing cyclical nature, Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury. So I don't think boxing's struggling. I think this is what boxing does. It has a breakout star that connects with people that people like and are willing to part with their money and transact on is what they call it now. And then, you lose that figure, right? So for a while there, people were willing to transact on Floyd Mayweather. And then for a while it was, what's his name from the Philippines, right?
Pacquiao.
And then, Tyson Fury, and in the UK, they still like, Usyk and whoever. So, yeah.
It seems like they don't try and change.
And I think that's when you look at, if you ask Dana, that's the difference between the UFC model and the boxing model.
That's exactly what I was getting.
Every fight is a going out of business sale. Let's make as much money as we can off this fight. And then everybody makes money. The fighters make money. Everybody, but there's never an infrastructure to do it again. Whereas the UFC, they don't pay the fighters as much for those big tentpole events, but they continue to build an infrastructure and lay the foundation for, for their own over-the-top platform, for their partnerships, for, educational content, for fitness content, for the UFC gym brand. They're really trying to own the MMA and the fitness space. So, and that's not a cheap thing to do.
There's,
but at the end of the day, let me finish my thought. At the end of the day, the UFC's most valuable asset is the UFC fighter. So the actual person entering the octagon is the person that is entertaining.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of young kids who love the UFC and so on and so forth, and love mixed martial arts. Have you noticed the younger generation that gets lost in it and kind of wastes their time? They just aren't going to make it. It's very difficult. They're not going to make it. They don't want to put the work in, or genetically they don't have it. And you see them like continuously just kind of wasting their time.
Quit now and save yourself some heartache.
Right.
So no. I look at it a different way.
Okay.
You train for the sport of mixed martial arts, much like wrestling, and it's hard. Things are difficult about it. It is not for everyone, but it makes you tougher. It makes you appreciate the sport. It also makes you appreciate the sport in the sense that you're able to become a fan later in life, because you're like, oh my God, that was stupid hard. You have a realization. Whereas, first time I saw jiu-jitsu, I was like, what are they doing and why?
Right.
How is that making them tired? They're just laying there,
Right.
So that you have an appreciation for it, but then you also have, some skills for body awareness, for conditioning, for, hey, shit, we're getting an actual fight with somebody,
That's for sure. Yes.
Those aren't wasted skills. Oh, I'm never going to be a professional, but is that what you're saying about high school football too? Because most of us, I was really good at high school football. Shockingly, I did not make it to the NFL.
That's for sure. Yeah. No, yeah. 100%.
Right? Like, quit now. You're never going to make it to the NBA, kid. So is that where you want me to go around telling these guys?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, I don't know, man. There's a lot of good people doing MMA now. Yeah.
No, there really is. I mean, I have no problem with somebody who does it and does it to stay in shape and so on and so forth. But the person that tries to keep up, and there are times you just look at them and you go, dude, it's getting, you're almost 30 or you're 35. It's time to think about something else now, But at the same, and it's dangerous. Let's face it, right? If you're not very good, it's very dangerous.
Watch the videos I post. I want you to know it's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, it's very, very dangerous.
Hey, I'm 8 orthopedic surgeries deep, seven orthopedic surgeries deep.
All right, so explain that. Orthopedic surgery. What do you mean? Your back, your elbow, your shoulder?
No, like my shoulder 3 times, my knee twice, both hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I gave myself a hernia and lost a testicle.
Did you lose a testicle?
Well, the seminiferous tuberals, they just came unraveled and they couldn't save them. I had to take one of the suckers.
Wow. Okay, that's rough, man.
I ripped the little line into my intestine, and now I got a piece of mesh.
Wow.
But you ever seen the infomercial, like, did you get this match between those years? And I was looking like, hey, can I get part of this class action lawsuit? No, I got the good mesh. You got the good stuff. Get the faulty mesh.
Okay. All right. So what's the future of Forrest Griffin?
Oh, my future.
Yeah, your future. What's happening?
We just.
Oh, I know that, but
that's it. That's it. Like, that was it. Done.
No, I know that.
There's nothing else. Sorry. You're just like so disappointed. You're like, hey, you're going to do something with your life. Nah, man, I did it.
Yeah, that's it. It's a wrap. Yeah.
I go around and talk to people for a living. It's easy. It's easy.
That's definitely a good thing.
Tell stories, do speeches and such. It's great. No, I want to continue to work with UFC or in martial arts in the performance space, right? So if it's understanding the kicks, punches, and strategy that continue to evolve in MMA, if it's understanding the best physical resources or the best physical tools to have to compete in the sport of MMA, or the best anthropometrics, these are kind of all things I want to be on the front of discovering, right? Like, what is the best way to train for the sport of mixed martial arts? I heard they were going to build this Performance Institute thing. And I said, I'm your guy. I've been trying to figure out this sport for the last 20 years. Give me some smart people. I need to do this.
Yeah, word around town is that you are a workhorse for the UFC.
Well, I show up and I don't say no. So it's we just shot a kind of a weird commercial thing on the last minute. If you think about it too, I'm a work. It's MMA. It's the
Right.
UFC. It's not like I'm work. It's not like I'm laying tile.
Right. Yeah.
If
Right.
we were
Right.
laying tile, brother, I would not be a workhorse. I'd never go back to
Yeah.
doing that.
Well, that's
Like I'm literally talking about MMA or watching fights or talking to fighters. Like, yeah, when it comes to that, I'll be a workhorse.
right. Yeah,
But
that's funny
yeah,
because I'm a sewer worker in New York City, so I'm
yeah,
underground.
you
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
know the deal.
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
done actual work.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You're ankle deep in
Yeah.
shit every day. Forrest, I want to thank you for doing this and coming on and speaking to me about your career and yourself and so on and so forth. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on, man. And you are a legend. And I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate your time right back. What is the shirt you have on?
All right, so this is my logo for my channel. So it's
Okay.
channel is serious and silliness. So it's a half gladiator and a half court jester.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
my wife makes these shirts. That's the only thing she wants to do with the podcast is make the shirts. She wants nothing else to do with it.
Well, that's ironically just you wearing the shirt's all she wants to do with you too. So
Yeah, that's really it. She'll make the shirt. She doesn't want to be on it. She doesn't want to.
Tell me a little bit. How did you get into this podcast kind of in the combat sports space?
Well, what happened was my channel, I'm trying to make my channel all encompassing for men. And it's been working. But some topics in social media and YouTube and podcasts run hot and then they cool off and they run hot. So like, for example, like the mafia thing, the guys coming out of prison, talking about their life and so on. That was really hot last year. So it's kind of dying down now. So I had decided that I wanted to try and venture off into MMA and mixed martial arts and UFC and so on and so forth, because guys love it. They absolutely love it.
I love it. So you're a sewer worker, huh?
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly.
With that accent, I believe
it. So what happened was funny story is that I had Larry Mazza on. And Larry Mazza is from the same neighborhood as me in Brooklyn. He's from Bensonhurst. And he was an actual made member of the Colombo crime family. And he did 12 years in prison.
Yeah.
And he came out and he turned state's evidence and so on and so forth. And that's how I met Matt Granahan, because they were friends. And Matt actually was on my podcast with Larry. And
it's weird. They used to do business together, but they didn't exactly say what it was. I don't know.
Yeah. So then me and Matt became friendly, and he introduced me to some agents and so on and so forth. And I had told him I was trying to get into the guys to come on from mixed martial arts, and he, gave me your contact information, and he gave me several other people's contact information. But basically, my channel is trying to be all encompassing for men. So there's bodybuilding, powerlifting, arm wrestling, MMA, mafia guys, 1% bikers, porno chicks, which is a good one. And, anything else guys could. And then I just do this thing called like guy talk. And we just sit around drinking, talking shit. That's really it, so it's pretty entertaining. And that's basically what I'm trying to do.
If you can get paid to do that, is basically every dude's life dream. So
I hope so.
I commend you. Keep doing it, brother. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for coming on. We'll definitely want you back, man. It was really, really interesting.
Yeah. Hey, let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you. I'm interested to meet, I would love to hear you talk to some of these mafia guys, man.
I'll send you some of the clips. I'll send you, there was a bunch of them. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, do it. All right, my friend.
Forrest, thank you very much, brother. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
You got it.